at the age of 24, I had what you call an ectopic pregnancy. Now at the time, I had no idea what that was and how serious it was. And when they told me that I had lost my baby, I was devastated. And I didn't know what to do. And so what was the next step for me? Well, I waited a couple of years and I actually sought out a infertility specialist in my area. And he suggested that I have what you call a laparoscopy, which is like a simple outpatient surgery. And I was so obsessed at the time. And I will say obsessed because I wanted to have a child so bad that I would do anything. And since this was a simple outpatient surgery, I thought, what could go wrong? Well, I had the surgery, and after the surgery, I actually had to go to the emergency room because I started profusely throwing up and vomiting, and I had black and blue bruises from my crotch all the way down my left leg. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So they told me in the ER that I had a bowel obstruction. I had no idea what that was about or what it meant, but I did know that it was serious because I was in excruciating pain. So unfortunately, they sent me home with a bowel obstruction and I started to get worse. Went back to the ER for a second time, and this time they admitted me into the hospital. Now at this time, my white blood cell count went up to what we call 88,000, which is pretty much deadly. And they waited 3 days before they did surgery. By then, once they got in, they realized that part of my small intestine had become gangrene and died. So they actually had to remove part of my small intestine. Now, when I woke up, I had no idea what happened to me. And this was scary because no one mentioned to me that my intestine was actually no longer part of my body, that there was parts of me that was removed. So this was shocking. And when the doctor visited me in my hospital room, he said, we removed 12 inches. Well, lo and behold, we found out that it was almost 2.5 feet of small bowel that was removed. And this was shocking and frustrating, and I had no idea why this happened to me. So when I decided that I wanted to dig deeper into this, we realized that unfortunately some of the doctors were giving us misinformation and misleading us. And this led to me really researching what had happened to me. So after I realized that they removed 2.5 feet of my small intestine, I sought another doctor who specialized in fertility. And unfortunately, my doctor determined that if I did get pregnant again, that I would be a high-risk pregnancy. So another doctor I sought after said that I actually had less than 10% chance of getting pregnant. After 6 years of trying to get pregnant, I was again yet devastated, disappointed, frustrated, angry at why is this happening to me? And the repercussions from the first surgery was I had a condition called chronic diarrhea or dumping syndrome. And basically it's diarrhea every day. And now I know that sounds terrible, but it is debilitating because you're dehydrated, you're exhausted, and you're losing the nutrients from your body. Not only that, I had what you call dysmenorrhea, which is heavy menstrual bleeding. I bled for 28 days straight. And so I was anemic. I lost my hair. I weighed like 80 pounds. I mean, it was just, my whole body was basically just deteriorating right in front of my eyes. I was 26 years old, but I felt like I was 90. And I'm thinking, why is this again happening to me? What happened to me? And how do I get out of this? How do I get better? And you know, there were other things, other complications such as eating. And before the surgery, I would eat whatever I wanted. Unfortunately, after the surgery, I was unable to eat many different foods. And one of them was dairy, meats, spicy foods, which I loved. But one of the things I did realize is that my life was no longer the same. And that was what changed. The repercussions from the surgery just changed my entire life. So I discovered that I had to find a new me, a new Anne, a new body, a new diet, and a new health so that I can live longer and healthier for the rest of my life. When I discovered that I was unable to conceive or have a child, I was devastated. I was distraught. I was depressed. I didn't know what was next for me. And I know there's millions and millions of women out there going through infertility or fertility issues, as I was and did at the age of 24, 25, and 26. I tried for 6 years. I tried everything I could. And the fact that I now have digestive issues, hormonal issues, emotional issues, and anxiety and depression on top of that, it was just too much. It was just too much to handle. And there were times I thought, you know what, it was better off that I probably wouldn't be here on earth anymore. You know, I had thoughts of suicide. It was to the point where I didn't even know if I wanted to live because I was so sick. I had no idea if my body could handle another surgery. Well, unfortunately, I had to have 4 more surgeries. And every surgery I went through, they had told me if I had 1 more surgery, I wasn't going to survive. So every surgery I went through, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not. All I did was have faith. And I recall being in the hospital one day, and I was in ICU, and the doctor said, if you don't pass gas, we are going to have to do another surgery. And so I started crying. There was nothing else I could do except cry. My family was being flown in from different parts of the world. They had a priest come in and give me my last rites. And so the only thing I could do was pray. And so I made a pact with my creator, my source, God, and said, you know what? If you heal me right now, I will do whatever it takes to give back. I don't know what that is, but I need to stay alive. And I just cried and prayed and just said, please, please help me survive, not knowing if I was or not. I do recall a nurse coming in, checking in on me, and she asked me what's wrong, and I just said, I'm scared. And she said, just have faith. That's all she said. So fortunately, that night I did pass gas and I didn't have to have surgery. And as they were rolling me into the hospital floor, I remember telling the head nurse, please say thank you to the nurse that came into my room the other night. And I told her what her name was. And she looked at me and she said, we don't have a nurse by that name. And so I said, yes, you do. This is what she looked like. This is what her name was. And she said, I'm sorry, honey, but we don't. And I just the only thing I can think of, who was this person, or was it an angel? To this day, I say she is my guardian angel. She helped me get through a really, really challenging, difficult time. And so the fact that I did not conceive, there was another plan for me. And that's the next story.